All right, everybody. Good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well on this Sunday, just 7 days away from the Super Bowl. And we've got some news. We've got some news to talk about today. And unfortunately, from my perspective anyway, none of it is really good news, but we got to talk about it anyway. So we've got a few different tweets from Adam Schefter that I want to go through here. And if it comes from Adam Schefter, it's probably pretty darn credible. So whatever you see over these next few minutes, just know that it's pretty much locked into place here. So we know that over the course of the last couple of days, Klint Kubiak met with the Las Vegas Raiders. He met with Tom Brady. He met with Mark Davis. He met with some other people high up in that organization, probably. And it looks like things went well, and it looks like things are pretty much a done deal. All right, everybody, before we go any further into this video, I want to take a minute to tell you guys about the Sleeper app. We are just about to the Super Bowl. Now would be a great time to get on Sleeper. It's a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. Celebrate and chat about sports in real time with other users. You can get scores, you can get news, you get alerts with blazing fast speed, all kinds of sports stuff. You can play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. Enjoy sports together with a community. Download the Sleeper app today. And when you do, use promo code SBN for up to $100 match on your first deposit. And also, utilize the free $20 entry with no deposit required. All you have to do is make an account for that one. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. So check out Sleeper and have some fun with sports this year. So, per reports from, like I said, Adam Schefter, but also some other entities as well. So, this is pretty much set in stone now. Seahawks offensive coordinator Klint Kubiak intends to try to work out a deal to become the next head coach of the Raiders. Remember, nothing official can happen until after the Super Bowl, but this is pretty much confirmation that this is going to happen. So I think we can now officially say that Klint Kubiak is gone, and despite our best efforts to keep him around for 2026, despite surviving a lot of appealing job opportunities for him, he has decided he likes that Raiders job, and the Raiders have decided they like him for the job. So definitely unfortunate in my book. I liked him, but he is going to be gone. So obviously this is not ideal. This means we're going to be looking for a new offensive coordinator after a lot of the potentially appealing candidates are already gone or have already committed to staying where they currently are. So it's not something that's going to necessarily be fun to go through, but this is what happens when you have a really good team. When you got a great team and you've got good coaches and those coaches get promoted across the league, then this is something you got to go through. You have to find ways to replace those coaches effectively late in cycles. You look at like the Eagles. They lost Kellen Moore last year to the Saints, and they were unable to find an adequate replacement for him. They promoted somebody that ended up being incompetent, and it cost them a season where they should have been a very, very good team and probably should have competed for a Super Bowl again. Instead, they went one and done, mostly because the offensive coordinator they ended up with didn't know what he was doing. And that probably wouldn't have happened if they didn't lose Kellen Moore so late in the cycle. Seahawks got to avoid that now, and there are going to be opportunities to avoid it. Also worth considering, though, is that the Seahawks are likely going to lose some of their assistants beneath Kubiak. You've got guys like John Benton, Andrew Janoko. Those guys feel like they're going to follow Kubiak to Vegas, if I had to guess. Maybe somebody like Jake Peets, although I think Peets will probably stay. There are going to be some other guys as well that could go one way or the other. I'm not going to get into every single coach beneath Kubiak on the staff, but there's definitely going to be some shifting of responsibilities and jobs here, and it is too bad. It's going to remove some potential replacements for Kubiak as well because they're going to want to follow him to Vegas. Although I don't consider that to be that bad of a thing because I think an in-house replacement for Kubiak is kind of eh. I'm not a big fan of that, but that is something to keep track of as well. There's going to be a little bit of an exodus. It is what it is, and you got to find a way to get through. Okay, so we've got this going on here. This is the big one. Kubiak is almost certainly gone. Something crazy would have to happen over the next 7 days. Like I said, the only thing that could really happen is either Kubiak bombs his interview or the Raiders bomb the interview and Kubiak withdraws. Neither of that has happened. So I think we can kind of put this one in I think we can kind of put this one on ice. Now, this is not the only coaching news we've gotten this this day so far. So let's look at it. One of my favorite potential replacements for Kubiak has gotten picked up by the Cardinals as head coach now. The Cardinals have officially hired Rams offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur as their head coach on a 5-year deal. So after Kubiak got basically picked up by the Raiders, the Cardinals moved on LaFleur, and he is now their head coach. So that means that he is no longer an option for the Seahawks as their offensive coordinator. He would have been one of my top guys. He would have been somebody that I really would have liked to have gone after potentially to replace Kubiak, and now he's off the table. So unfortunately, the things have kind of worked out here to where the cupboard is going to be a little bit bare for the Seahawks. The good news is I think the play is Arthur Smith. I think that Arthur Smith is going to be kind of the play for the Seahawks. We know they like him. We know they wanted him a couple years ago. I think he would be really good here. I think he would be a good fit for our personnel. And he hasn't signed his deal with Ohio State yet. So I imagine after the Super Bowl, we're going to pretty quickly move on Arthur Smith, and he's most likely going to be the guy, but only time will tell. Now, I do want to say this as well, off the topic of the Kubiak Seahawks OC subject. I think LaFleur is a pretty good hire. I think that's about as good as the Cardinals could have done this cycle. So I will say the Cardinals came out of this with a pretty good candidate. So that's pretty good for a team that is not in a good spot right now. They don't have a lot going on that roster at the moment. And for them to get a guy like LaFleur, I think is pretty darn good. So shout out to them. We're going to have, I think, a little bit of competition in that division from them now at some point. Maybe not immediately, but I think this is a good hire. It certainly beats Ron Rivera. It beats Aviro or a lot of other guys they could have gotten in my book. And yeah, we're going to be, it's going to be tight here. If we don't get Arthur Smith, it's going to be tough to land somebody that's proven in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so that is pretty much the main stuff here. We did also get this. I know this seems like small potatoes right now. The 49ers got Raheem Morris as their defensive coordinator to replace Saleh. And I think that's a pretty good hire as well. Jim Schwartz probably would have been better, but Raheem Morris is a very credible defensive coordinator in my mind. To me, he will be good in that role. And other than Schwartz, this is probably the best they could have done. So for whatever that's worth, I think the Niners did a pretty adequate job replacing Saleh, and the division just gets tougher and tougher. So I know that's a footnote here, but they did well. All right. So Kubiak is pretty much gone at this point. Now, I know that the conversation will shift a little bit towards, is this going to be a distraction for him? I don't think so because it's done, right? Where it's Sunday afternoon and he pretty much knows what's going on. He knows he's going to be head coach of the Raiders. The Raiders know they're going after him. There's not really that much to think about now. And now he's got the whole week to come up with a game plan for the Super Bowl. And he's presumably already had most of the last week. It's not like he's been in interviews nonstop for the entire week here. Both of his interviews happened yesterday, and I think he had dinner with the Raiders on Friday night. But other than that, he has been thinking about this game, I assume. And let's not forget, Kellen Moore knew he was going to be the Saints head coach last year, right? He had interviewed for head coaching jobs last year after doing a good job with the Eagles, and the Eagles' offense was great the whole postseason, except for maybe the Packers game. And look at what they did in the Super Bowl. You know, Kellen Moore knew he was going to become the Saints head coach before that Super Bowl started, well before that Super Bowl started. And look at how good a job he did beating up the Chiefs. And 2 years before that, so 3 years ago, you got Shane Steichen, who certainly knew he was going to become head coach of the Colts before the Super Bowl started. And look at what he did against the Chiefs in that game. The Eagles lost that game, but the offense blew up. The offense had a monster game that in that one. So I don't see this being some kind of disqualifying element to him having a good game in the Super Bowl. I imagine that he has every desire and every reason to want to go out on top. And I got nothing but appreciation for what Kubiak did here. He did a great job. He's the best offensive coordinator we've had in a long time. And we might be about to win a Super Bowl with him, and this is the circle of life in the NFL. You get good coaches, you get good assistants, you get good coordinators. You lose them to promotions if they do their job well. But I don't think this is going to be a big problem for him in the Super Bowl, and the fact that this is pretty much a done deal now with a whole week to go before the game, I think he can do his thing. But we'll have plenty more time to talk about the game coming up here. Everyone have a good rest of your day. Probably no more videos from me today unless something else happens. But everyone have a good rest of your Sunday. Go Hawks. More stuff soon. Probably on Twitch later. But so long, Klint Kubiak. Thank you for all the success.